Here's something many women struggle to accept. Most men aren't influenced by sacrifices in the way people assume. What you do for him, how much you give, or how hard you try doesn't automatically create loyalty. Staying committed isn't something men offer just because a woman treated them well. That's not how attraction or emotional attachment works underneath. In many cases, when a woman starts overextending herself in an attempt to secure a man's loyalty, it actually weakens the connection instead of strengthening it. What I want to explain is why this happens. Men are capable of loyalty, but it is not built on effort or constant pleasing behavior. Before continuing, if this perspective helps you understand relationships better, you can support Relationship Secrets by subscribing or sharing, so this kind of honest content continues to reach you. Most women are taught a version of relationships that sounds logical but doesn't reflect reality. They're told to be supportive, give more, stay available, and invest heavily in a man with the belief that it will guarantee his commitment. So they pour in time, attention, energy, and emotional effort, thinking it will create something stable. At first, it may even appear to work because he enjoys the care and comfort. But enjoyment isn't the same as devotion, and comfort alone doesn't build lasting attachment. Men don't become deeply bonded just because of effort received. What they respond to most is how they feel when they are with you. If that emotional experience changes or disappears, the connection weakens no matter how much has already been invested. One important truth that is often missed is that men don't stay loyal simply because of consistency or effort. They become attached to how a woman shapes their perception of themselves. It's less about her actions and more about the emotional reflection they experience through her. When a woman begins overgiving in hopes of securing love, it often comes from fear rather than strength. That fear slowly reduces attraction. The more someone tries to prove they are enough, the more it signals that they don't feel enough already. Men can sense this insecurity without it ever being spoken. It shifts the dynamic. Meanwhile, men tend to remain more connected to women who carry inner stability, self-respect, and emotional independence because that energy feels grounded rather than needy. There's something rarely said openly about why men actually pull away. It's not usually because a woman lacks value or treats them badly. More often, it happens when the emotional dynamic becomes heavy with need, when constant reassurance is required, when validation is always being sought instead of self-confidence being maintained, when every disagreement turns into uncertainty that needs him to resolve it. Over time, this changes the emotional tone of the relationship. A woman who once felt secure can gradually start depending on him for stability, asking repeatedly if everything is okay, apologizing too much, and seeking confirmation of her worth. Slowly, the connection feels different, and he begins to withdraw. Not out of cruelty, but because the emotional balance between them has shifted. What actually sustains attraction long-term is not what you continuously do for someone, but the kind of person you are while doing it. When your identity is grounded, self-respecting, and emotionally steady, your actions naturally carry more weight. But when your sense of self is unstable, even excessive effort won't earn lasting respect. That's why some women are valued deeply while doing less, while others give everything and still feel overlooked. Behaviors like walking away from disrespect, refusing to beg for attention, and maintaining emotional balance communicate strength. Attraction naturally moves toward that strength. There is a difference between a man staying out of obligation and staying out of real loyalty. One is driven by guilt and pressure, while the other is rooted in genuine respect. Real loyalty is not created through sacrifice alone. It grows from respect, and respect begins with self-worth. When it comes to what keeps a man emotionally invested, movement in life matters more than anything else. Men tend to stay drawn to women who are evolving, improving, and actively building something for themselves. When a woman is growing, she naturally pulls him into her energy and direction. But the moment she becomes stagnant, that pull starts to weaken. It doesn't matter how strong the connection once felt. Attraction for men is very present-focused. Who you are right now shapes his feelings far more than who you used to be. That's why relationships don't usually break down from one big event. They slowly fade when one person stops moving forward, stops chasing goals, and stops expanding their life. And without that sense of direction, the emotional spark quietly starts to disappear. Another important piece is how a woman responds when she feels loss or uncertainty in the relationship. This is where emotional control becomes extremely powerful. When conflict happens or distance appears, a man notices whether she stays grounded or falls apart. A woman who can face the possibility of losing someone without losing her composure becomes deeply impactful. Most people react by panicking, over-explaining, or trying to fix everything immediately out of fear. But that reaction often pushes the other person further away. On the other hand, staying calm, clear, and self-respecting during emotional tension creates a very different effect. It signals strength, and strength changes how a man perceives the connection. Even when men pull back, it's often not a final decision, but a way of observing your emotional response when reassurance is removed. Men are also not naturally loyal to constant availability or excessive pleasing behavior. Being always reachable, giving up your own needs, or focusing entirely on keeping him comfortable may feel like love, but it doesn't build lasting attraction. In fact, when a relationship becomes too safe and predictable without individuality, it often turns into boredom. That's where many women unintentionally lose strong connections. They believe agreeing with everything or prioritizing him above themselves proves commitment, but it often removes the sense of identity that originally created attraction. This is also where the difference between love and respect becomes important. Love can fluctuate based on mood and circumstance, but respect is far more stable. A man may experience changes in feelings, but if respect remains, the connection is much harder to break. At the core, what men remain loyal to is emotional strength, self-respect, personal direction, and the overall energy a woman carries in her life. It is not about constant effort or overgiving. It is about who she is becoming. That's why trying too hard often backfires. When you stop focusing on earning loyalty and instead focus on building your own stability, everything shifts naturally. He pays more attention, values you more, and responds differently because strength changes perception. This isn't about playing games or becoming distant on purpose. It's about being whole within yourself instead of relying on someone else to define your worth. And the final truth is simple but uncomfortable. Male loyalty isn't built on fairness or effort alone. It operates on deeper psychological patterns that don't always match intention or expectation. Or you can choose to understand this dynamic and actually use it to create healthier, more stable relationships. The decision is always yours, but ignoring how things actually work doesn't protect you from the outcome. It only leads to confusion when effort doesn't turn into the loyalty you expected. The reality is simple, even if it feels uncomfortable. Men respond more strongly to inner strength than to sacrifice, more to who you are than to what you constantly do, and more to the energy you carry than how much you overextend yourself trying to keep them. When you see this clearly, relationships start making sense instead of feeling unpredictable. When you don't, you end up questioning why giving your best still didn't secure what you wanted. And there is another layer beneath this that most people fall into without realizing it. Most women get caught in what is often called the overfunctioning trap. They notice something missing in the relationship and immediately try to fill it. If there is distance, they increase effort. If there is silence, they add more attention. If there is tension, they try to fix everything through doing more. At first, it can look like care and dedication, and sometimes it even feels like it helps. But appreciation is not the same thing as respect. Over time, when one person consistently does more than their share, the balance shifts. She slowly becomes the one carrying the emotional responsibility, while he becomes used to receiving rather than actively contributing. Without noticing it, she becomes more anxious, more invested, and more emotionally engaged in maintaining the connection than he is. There is a deeper principle that explains why this shift matters so much. People naturally become attached to what they invest themselves into, not just what is given to them. When a man has to put in effort, through initiating, planning, thinking, and pursuing, he builds emotional attachment through his own actions. But when everything is done for him, there is little internal investment created. Receiving alone doesn't build lasting emotional connection in the same way participation does. This is why balanced effort often creates stronger bonds than one-sided giving. It is not about playing games or withholding care, but about allowing space for mutual involvement. Effort leads to focus, focus leads to attachment, and attachment is what slowly turns into loyalty over time. This is also where boundaries and real scarcity come into the picture, not artificial distance, but genuine self-respect that limits unlimited access. When a woman has clear standards, her time and energy are not automatically available to everyone. That creates value because attention is no longer expected without effort or respect. When boundaries are weak or non-existent, availability becomes normal, and over time it is no longer appreciated in the same way. Human behavior adapts quickly to what it can consistently receive without resistance. Without clear limits, a cycle can form where inconsistency is tolerated, respect slowly declines, and emotional effort becomes uneven. Boundaries are not about control or punishment. They are about clarity, showing how you expect to be treated and maintaining balance in the relationship dynamic. At the core of attraction is a balance between openness and inner strength. Feminine energy is naturally warm, expressive, and receptive, and it draws people in emotionally. But when it exists without structure or self-respect, it loses its grounding and becomes something that is taken for granted. On the other hand, pure strength without softness can create distance and reduce emotional connection. What tends to sustain long-term loyalty is the combination of both: warmth with limits, care with independence, and love with personal direction. When a woman maintains her own life, her own growth, and her own emotional stability while still being open in connection, she creates a dynamic that is both deeply attractive and naturally respected over time. The real balance in attraction sits in a very specific place, being warm and emotionally open enough that a man feels drawn to you, while also being grounded and self-respecting enough that he understands access to you is not unlimited. That contrast creates a natural tension, and that tension is what keeps attraction alive over time. When a woman is only soft, she becomes easy to overlook. When she is only strong, she becomes hard to connect with. But when both qualities exist together, she becomes emotionally compelling in a steady way. He feels comfort in her presence, but also a quiet awareness that she is not someone he can take for granted. That combination builds respect, curiosity, and consistent emotional engagement instead of boredom or emotional distance. One of the most painful experiences in relationships is when a man starts pulling away from a woman who genuinely loves him and treats him with care. From her point of view, it feels confusing and unfair because she believes she did everything right. She gave attention, effort, loyalty, and emotional support, yet his energy still changed. What she often doesn't see is that too much giving can quietly shift the emotional balance. When love is freely given without being earned through mutual effort, it can slowly lose its weight, not because he is a bad person, but because human nature values what we actively participate in building. If something feels guaranteed, it gradually feels less meaningful over time. A simple way to understand this is through effort and meaning. When something comes without challenge or investment, it rarely feels valuable for long. If you were given an award without earning it, it would not carry the same pride or emotional impact as something you worked hard for. But when you struggle, grow, and push yourself to achieve something, that same result becomes deeply meaningful. Relationships work in a similar way. When a man feels he is part of building and maintaining the connection, he becomes more emotionally invested in it. But when everything is already done for him, the emotional depth slowly fades. This is also why a woman who is willing to walk away when she is not respected often creates stronger attachment than someone who promises she will never leave. Another important factor in long-term attraction is individuality. Men tend to stay engaged with women who maintain their own identity outside the relationship. When a woman has her own goals, friendships, interests, and direction, she naturally stays interesting because she is not completely predictable. There is always a sense that she is living a full life beyond the relationship. But when she slowly abandons her own world and centers everything around him, she becomes easier to predict and less emotionally stimulating over time. Independence is not emotional distance, it is wholeness. It means she remains a full person while being in a relationship, not someone who disappears into it. Modern dating advice often encourages women to take the lead, show constant interest, and avoid appearing distant or selective. While it sounds positive, it can sometimes clash with deeper patterns of attraction. Men generally become more emotionally invested when they feel pursuit, effort, and participation are required, not because of outdated ideas, but because investment creates attachment. When one person does everything, initiating, planning, and carrying emotional momentum, there is less space for the other person to invest in a meaningful way. Balanced effort allows connection to grow on both sides, while imbalance often weakens long-term consistency. At the end of the day, what this all comes down to is not learning how to control someone's feelings, but learning how to stop abandoning yourself in the process of trying to be loved. Because the moment you start over-giving, over-explaining, over-investing, and over-functioning, you slowly shift out of balance without even realizing it. You begin to carry the emotional weight of two people, and in that space, attraction naturally weakens, not because you are not enough, but because the dynamic becomes uneven. Real connection cannot survive where one person is constantly proving their worth while the other simply receives it without effort or reflection. What actually creates lasting loyalty is not perfection, and it is not sacrifice either. It is self-respect, emotional steadiness, and a life that continues to move forward regardless of who stays or leaves. When a woman is grounded in herself, she stops negotiating her value in real time. She is not trying to be chosen through effort. She is simply showing who she is and allowing others to respond to that. That shift alone changes everything. It removes pressure from the relationship and replaces it with clarity. And in that clarity, people reveal their true level of interest, consistency, and emotional availability. The hardest truth to accept is that you cannot outgive someone into loyalty. You cannot love harder, try harder, or sacrifice more and expect it to compensate for a lack of emotional investment on the other side. At some point, effort stops building connection and starts replacing it. That is where many people stay stuck, confusing intensity with intimacy and exhaustion with commitment. But real love does not require you to lose yourself in order to keep it. It allows you to remain whole while still being connected. A healthy relationship is never built on chasing or proving. It is built on mutual participation, mutual respect, and mutual desire to maintain the bond. When both people are present in their own lives, both are choosing each other, not out of need, but out of want. That is where stability comes from, not from control, not from fear, but from two people who continue to invest in themselves and, by extension, in each other. Without that, even the strongest emotional effort eventually burns out. So, the real takeaway is not about changing who you are to become more valuable, but about returning to yourself. Build your own direction, protect your emotional energy, let your standards guide access to you. Allow relationships to be something that adds to your life, not something you overextend yourself to maintain. Because when you stop trying to earn love and start living in alignment with your own worth, you don't just become more attractive, you become more stable, more clear, and far less confused about who is truly meant to stay in your life. The healthiest shift is not about becoming distant or playing games, but about returning to balance. Stop overextending yourself in an attempt to secure someone's commitment. Build a life that feels meaningful on its own. Keep clear boundaries about how you expect to be treated and stay consistent with them. Allow space for mutual effort instead of carrying everything emotionally. Let the other person show up, invest, and contribute instead of doing all the work yourself. Most importantly, stay connected to who you are instead of reshaping yourself around someone else's expectations. When that balance exists, relationships become more natural, stable, and mutual instead of forced. The final truth is that not every relationship will respond to effort in the way you hope. Some people are not emotionally available, mature, or capable of building stable attachment, no matter how much you give. That is not something you can fix through more patience or self-sacrifice. The key is to stop blaming yourself for dynamics that were never fully in your control. Focus on your own growth, emotional stability, and self-respect, and allow relationships to reveal themselves honestly over time. If this perspective brought you clarity, support, relationship secrets, by subscribing, liking, or exploring more content, understanding these patterns doesn't just change how you see relationships, it changes how you move through them with far less confusion.